Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy VII. We switched our party around here because the big thing just happened, and I think if anyone were to be there to comfort Cloud in his time of loss, it would not be Yuffie, the optional party member, and Ketchi, the traitorous stuffed animal. Though it is kind of funny I'm switching out from Yuffie in the thumbnail or Yuffie from the party because, hey, she's in the thumbnail now. Featuring once again art by Dax Gordine, who worked on Bravo Man, and I've watched his art forever, so when I saw commissions were open, I'm like, I can't not do it. So yeah, so we gotta head up to the Icicle Inn, because that is where we will get the chance to go up to the northern crater to find Sephiroth and take our revenge, and I'm sure nothing will go wrong there, and it will just be completely normal and fine. So this overworld is honestly daunting, and it's interesting because when I'm in this overworld, I don't get the same feeling I got when I played the Final Fantasy VI overworld as a kid. It's something about the way the camera works that when I look at it, I'm like, I'm just scared to move around, right? And we do have our camera here to help us, or not a camera, but a map. But the camera does not help, it feels like. But we got a lot of these, I think they're called Bandersnatches, if I'm correct. I do have the enemy list up here. Yeah, these are called Bandersnatches. Nothing real special about them, other than a single Bandersnatch can revive another with its howling ability, but you don't get extra experience in Gil, and you can morph them into an ice crystal. I don't use morphing in this, but the ice crystal inflicts Ice 3 on all enemies, so that's pretty good if you really want Ice 3. I never end up using Morph in my own playthrough here. I mostly ended up using Manipulate and enemy skills, but hey, here we are at the Icicle Inn, the last sort of respite before we go head up the mountain. And we have a weapon shop here. Now this is interesting. There's a really interesting thing here. At the top of the staircase is actually an item that you can't get in your main playthrough. In fact, you can't get it without hacking. And this item is actually the black materia. Now, is this actually the black materia? Probably not. But there is a black materia up there that is kind of crazy, that this item that does nothing, you pick it up and it does nothing, is there, and you can pick it up if you hack the game. Who knew that? It was just up there, right? But we picked up some weapons for our team. Organics. We got a new weapon for Barrett that should hopefully put him back in the back row. We got a Dragon Claw. And these are all nice because they got more materia slots. In general, these are all actual upgrades. Because, you know, there's two ways to give you a new weapon. You can either go horizontally. Did I just say horizontally? Horizontally, which is like, you know, give you a different type, you know, make one with double growth or more attack but no materia, or you can just go vertically, which is straight up better. These ones are the straight up better ones, except for Red 13, who you still don't want to change out his weapon from that amazing one you got earlier in the valley there. So we can go around taking a look. There seems to be a map here. We can look at it. That is helpful. For later, maybe. We can also just take it, because, hey, I'm sure that will lead to some shenanigans. We got some hero drinks and some vaccines, which is good. Remember to always take your vaccines. They are very important. So the hero potion, I think, increases your power in the game, like in battle, if I'm correct, when I go to find it. And then the vaccine is, I'm pretty sure, just a curing item. So protects against, yeah, gets rid of your transformations, which happens, and this one raises your stats during battle. It's one of the X items from Pokemon, if you will. So we are at the base of a mountain, and the mountain has a lot of places to kind of explore and find and also die upon, because, hey, you are going on, you're going up a mountain. And if anyone has ever gone up in a frozen mountain before, you'd know it's a little treacherous. And personally, I go to the mountains quite often. I live near the Rocky Mountains, near-ish, a couple hours away. And there's nothing scarier than the idea of being stuck up there. So, hey, this mom's one of those protective moms who's like, my kid shouldn't do snowboarding, but I got it for him. So guess what? We're gonna swipe his snowboard. right as soon as we can. Guess what, though? We can't right now because we're not at the point yet. But I'm trying. The cat just is in the way, and the boys as well. So we got there a little early. You know, you see that item and it's actually a rendered item and not part of the background, and you're like, oh man, that's something I can deal with, right? I can interact with, and oh, this place looks fun. I will always praise the house design of Final Fantasy VII. Every house tells a story. There is so much going on in every single one because they're all literally handcrafted, right? And that's something that I hope is not lost on the remake. I want to keep saying the full version, but that's absolutely not what it is. It is the remake, right? So let's try and lead to the north. Let's just go. Let's snowboard. Let's see what this guy has to say. There's a steep grade. Well, that's fine. I'm pretty good. I'm still gonna go though. And uh-oh, looks like trouble. I love Elena. I am so excited for the Turks to be brought back and turned into this dumb mini game, or not mini game, but mini boss squad as they're called. See, like, she runs up and she's like, I'm so cool, and then she's out of breath. This is a weird little section right here where you're gonna see, it's like they put in like combat, also secret. That is such a Japanese, that it only occurs in Japanese games because they can do that with their syllables, but we don't do that in English. And she's not happy, thinking that we stabbed Tseng, even though, well, there was a long, thin sword that went through him. And we do not have a long, thin... Actually, well, you could get Cloud, I think. One of his swords looks like a katana, which you put on it, and you put on Cloud, that sword, and you're like, that doesn't look right. You need Cloud to have a big, dumb sword. And here we go. Dodge the punch. I didn't. I wasn't ready. Maybe I like getting punched by girls, so it's fine. You can dodge it, and then I think punch back, and then you can continue, but for the most part, I was like a little shocked that the game made me do that. Because when else does this happen? I can only think of one possible time that involves two girls on a cannon. Let's just leave it at that. But otherwise, we can just pretty much leave and continue. You'll need a snowboard. So, this is how you snowboard. It's pretty basic. You got your brakes, your jumps. You can edge left and right, which means pretty much like drift, kind of. It's interesting. The snowboarding was something that I always assumed was like one of the most memorable parts of Final Fantasy VII, and it's memorable, but it's kind of underwhelming at the same time. Also, this kid's just gonna be like, okay, can't go on my snowboard, even though I'm a child, and child snowboards are tiny compared to adult ones, so he gives it to us. Sure, then the cat runs away because the cat was literally a blocking flag, or gate rather. But yeah, you can go and do a snowboarding minigame in the Golden Saucer. As well, you can do snowboarding through a totally separate Final Fantasy VII snowboarding minigame. Like, they're like game, right? Like, it was on cell phones, I remember. There was a couple Final Fantasy VII spin-off ones that are really... Also, hey, you called me a fathead just because you already told me how to do that? That's a bit mean. There was a couple. There was G-Bike, too. So there's no music during this section, which I don't think fits. So I decided to add in the snowboarding song. You should know what this is. If you don't know what this is, shame on you. But you got some balloons. You got some things to avoid. We're apparently going like 50, 60 kilometers an hour downhill. That is impossible. Also, I'm not very good. It's my first time actually doing this though, so no hate, no hate. Those snowmen with the caps on them, the little bucket caps, is like, I look at that and all I think of is Mario Kart 64, because they're in there. As far as I'm aware, those are just a Japanese thing that they do with the with their snowmen, give them little bucket hats, which I think is adorable, you know. But how this works is this course also, hey, Moogles, you actually get to see one. The course actually splits at certain points, and depending on the way you take, will give you a different area for the our ultimate destination, which is the Great Glacier. And the Great Glacier has a bit of a time limit. So to do it in the time limit, what you actually have to do is you want to land in a certain area. I don't know which one it is. It's been a while. I think you pretty much want to land in area. I have the guide here. And it's all the way at the top because it's a huge one. Area 3, which you want to go by going left and then left, which I think I do. I had to look away from my screen, so I sure hope I do that. This is cool, and I can definitely see people loving this as a kid, but having played other snowboarding games, you play this and you're like, yeah, this is basic, let's say. I mean, you know what? I will say, shout out to Square Enix for putting in little activities to do. That's something that they do really well. They always put in little, mini games that let you change up how you get around, right? And I do love that. I think that is such a good thing to put in your games because it breaks up the action, especially in a turn-based RPG. Because turn-based RPGs can get stale after a while. I mean, I love them as much as the next guy, but boy, can they just also we knocked down a tree. Cloud, what is your body made out of? Or what are those made? Well, the trees look like they're made out of paper, so that's fair. That's what happens when your planet gets destroyed. The trees turn into paper, which is ironic because trees are from paper. Also, chocobos. How are they hopping? Are these a snow species of chocobo that we're actually killing? Game theory time. So, yeah, we are heading on down here still. This is a cool section. It's basic, but it's one of those things where you're like, it's cool, it's memorable. You can show screenshots and people go, yeah, I remember doing that as a kid, and then you ask them to remember the plot of the game and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. For a game that's like world famous, the plot of Final Fantasy VII is sure confusing, because it's not everything's told, it feels like. So, also, hey, they're just throwing snowballs. Who or what is doing that? Probably people from Calgary, Alberta, because that's what they like to do. They are rude. Sorry for bringing in a bit of local rivalry. So, no, I'm going to go left-right instead. Left-right takes us to Area 1, which actually is kind of at the start of the area. It's the one at the very far bottom. I'm using a guide that breaks it up into area names. I don't think they actually have area names. They're just kind of a big... It's probably one of the biggest kind of dungeony areas. It's like 14 screens with a lot of... Every screen has something to do or some item to get on it, right? So there's a lot to do. Also, it looks like we're in the mouth of something. Also, we are stuck. Help. This actually reminds me a bit, now that I got done it. Oh, that's just embarrassing. The Snow Slider minigame in Kingdom Hearts 3 is actually very similar, except it has tricks and, of course, Donald and Goofy are there. But, yeah, if you can't tell, I'm not very good at the snowboarding. For my first attempt, I think it was okay, though. But yes, we land here at Area 1, the Ice Gate. Ever since 1996, it says. Okay. But we got out in one piece. Better than getting out in Bleach, am I right? So, for this area here, you actually do have a time limit. What's really a step limit? Because, of course, this area is cold, and Barrett and Tifa and Cloud are very not wearing appropriate clothing for this. Which is just a video game trope. I like when games give you a winter alternate outfit, but at the same time, you look at this and you're like, oh, these silly RPG heroes going up a mountain in short sleeves. But there's a lot to find here, and so I think I go for pretty much everything that I need. There's a couple items that are really difficult to get, and there's even a couple glitchy things that you can do here. So like I said, there's a step limit, and the step limit will make it so that after a certain number of steps, you will automatically be whisked away to another area, which you can later on go and explore. But for the most part, also whenever I'm standing still, I'm looking at my IRL map of this place. You can take a step and then you stop and then you get taken back to a rest area where you can then go back and explore. But if you so happen to pick up an item on the same step as you running out of steps, you will actually be able to duplicate that item. And it works for almost every item in this area, including summon materia. So if you want an unlimited number of a certain summon materia, which we're going to get, you can totally get that. So I am absolutely consulting a guide here because I do not want to get lost. Now, this is the Area 3 that I was talking about before, the one that I was going to land if I went left. It's just woody. That's about it. You can go different directions, and I am wasting my steps here. There are some unique encounters, though, some of which are neater than others. These dudes are called Frozen Nails, and they are bug things. I don't think there's anything real special about them. It just says kill them. On its turn, they have a 25% chance using Flying Sickle. Otherwise, it will use Continue Claw. It'll just pick random opponents. Not much to say about these guys. These are very generic enemies. No big thing. We did get a miss, but Tifa did get a yeah, so it kind of combines together for a beat rush. And I do like her with the claw of the Dragon Claw. Now, I will say Cloud Sword looks super dumb. Organics is what it's called. Why is it called that? I don't know. Barrett did get his MP plus leveled up, though, which means, hey, he'll get stronger for magic. So yes, we are exploring this area, trying to get through here, trying to find our way through this frozen forest, and now we are in, and then I walk right back into it because screen transitions are fun. So now we're in this wooded area, of which I don't think there's many items to find. I am just looking at my map. There is a mind source up there, for if you would like a mind source. It's quite nice for maxing out your stats. It is interesting that you can, I keep saying it is interesting, but you can grind for those source items, using Morph. So if you want to have just like maxed out stats, no one can stop you. So we're going this way. And now we're in this area. We got some woods, or not woods, some water. We're coming out of the woods, and there's a lake up there. Now these dudes are called the Ice Golems, and they look like little toys. You know, maybe it's my prejudice speaking, but if I were to see an enemy called a golem, I would expect them to be large. As far as I'm aware, they're just a small robot. Now, that is actually prejudice, because a golem in Jewish folklore is just any animated anthropomorphic being created from inanimate matter. So, yeah, even though they're small, they are still golems. Ooh, we got deep there. Thank you, Final Fantasy Wiki, for giving me that information in your ooh, that's a fun word. Etymology section. That's why they're named that. And it's an ice golem because we're in an ice area. Are there other golems? There are. There's a golem and an armored golem. I don't think we've seen the other ones yet, have we? Golem is in... Well, the golems you find in Cosmo Canyon, so we passed them. And the armored golem is... Oh, where's this dude even fought? I don't even know. Doesn't matter, we beat him anyways. So, there are some items that we really want to try and get here. Specifically, being the safety bit, which we are working towards right now. Where you have to jump across some stuff, and the safety bit is a really good item that we're going to be getting in just a second here, actually. Where basically what it does is it prevents death sentence, slow numb, and petrify. Those are really bad things, so to get rid of those is really good. For the most part, I never had problems with Petrify and Death in this game. Some other Final Fantasies you might. So basically how this works is they kind of, as you step on them, they either go up or go down. There is a guide right here that I just used because I could have probably figured this out on my own, but I didn't want to get into a situation where I was potentially losing it. So it says here, northwest, southwest, north, east, north, north, northwest, south, east, east, north. So you kind of go back and around because you gotta make your path to the north there, as you can see. Because then it closed that back down, but then you can see you're starting to make the path. And Cloud's like, uh-oh, where do I go? You know what sucks? Being the type of guy to get your norths and your... And I got there. I don't even think I did that in the end. I just jumped up and I was fine. I get my easts and my wests confused a lot. I'll have to think about we. You know, thinking about west and east making we. But we got the safety bit. Yeah, this is a good item to put on. So we'll see if we can equip it there. I don't think we'll get rid of it, but it prevents sudden death, petrify, all that stuff. So if I need to fight an opponent who has those things, I am now good. The next important materia we are trying to get, though, is the added cut materia, which is pretty simple. It is a materia that you... And then I gotta get back. Added cut makes it so that whenever you use a spell or something, it adds the ability, or not really the ability, but it just adds a melee attack to it. So if you want to be the type of guy to be like, man, I sure want to hit them with magic and then attack, if you're making a balance build, you can do that. It is nearly invisible, though, because it is a blue materia in white snow. It is quite difficult. What are we fighting here, though? Oh, we got some more Bandersnatches. Again, quite simple. Nothing too special. We can show off Barrett's limit here, Grenade Bomb. I did not, in the end, do much limit grinding. I don't even think I got most people's level 3 limits by the end. It was weird because I wasn't over-leveled, but I think just my ability to use enemy skill and having all those made it go a bit too easy for my run. It did help that I had the guide here to be like, hey, use these items, and what you can do is, you know, get all the enemy skills, and I did have the guide helping me, but it's amazing how enemy skills can break the game. It'll be interesting to see if they bring back enemy skill. I can see them not in the remake, because A, how would half of them work? Like, the missile one. Is Cloud just gonna shoot missiles? I don't think so. Unless they make it like Ketchy or someone has to be that, right? It's possible. So as we are going on up here, huge area, as you can see. It's positively massive. Like, this is, we haven't even covered half the screens of this area. We're going east, and there's a whole west side that we have to worry about, too. And we got more Bandersnatches. I didn't cut out a lot of battles here, because last time I cut out a lot of battles. And you know what, for the most part, I don't mind showing a quick battle here or there. I mean, this is the main gameplay of the game, right? It's like, I've seen some Let's Plays cut out most random battles, and it's like, well, in the end, then, is it really? Are you showing off the gameplay? But for some people, it's more about the story. I definitely would say this game is less about the combat and more about the world and story, personally. But hey, it's a little tough to see, but do you see it there? That's not the materia. I got you, right? But it's tough to tell. It's really tough to tell. Because you look in, and mind you, we do have the added benefit of playing the HD version, of which it's like, you do have the ability to see things a bit easier, and we get one little tiny iron golem. So if you were to have, like, an elemental materia, and put on Shiva, or put on Blizzard, you would make it, and we got a Yanimus again, you would make it so that these guys, their Cold Snap would heal you, which is quite nice. Those are all good things to do. I also find myself using Steel a lot in Final Fantasy on almost every enemy because I'm always worried about missing out on specifically weapons. Whenever I see an enemy with holding some type of weapon, I look at it and I'm like, I sure hope I can steal that out of your hands, right? Because it's something that I see and I'm like, and there's a couple enemies in the game that do that. There's the one Shinra trooper, right? So it's like, I want to steal that. There it is. It's really tough to see, right? I was mashing my way all the way up it. So I could put on added cut to a magic materia, and then when I use it, I would both do the attack and then the added cut, which is cool. But you sadly cannot do it with enemy skill, though. I thought that would be a dope thing to do, but you sadly can't. It has to be magic. Summon is a different, and enemy skill is an ability, right? So there's some stuff there, but there's also, they keep it a little more in check, right? Making sure you're not going too crazy. But you have to be careful. Don't do what I do and put added cut on restore. Because when you use restore, you target your ally. So you would heal your ally and not attack the enemy, but then attack your ally. That's a mistake. Don't do that. But the next thing we're looking for is actually a summon, which, I mean, I'm like, hey, I should probably use some of these. I have them. So we send out Odin. And I don't know if it's been shown off yet, but Odin does have 2 skills. He can use his regular attack, Gungnir, or he can use Zenteksuken, which is a one-hit kill, though I don't think it works on bosses. Unlike some one-hit kill stuff, which in Final Fantasy... So that was Zenteksuken right there. He just eliminates a dude, right? Actually, the whole battle. Wow, I didn't know it was the whole battle. It's cool. It's like an instant slash that cuts him. It's dope. Bit of a shame, though, that, like, that's what Odin has going for him as a summon. Like, the other ones have the elements. It's like Odin, it's like, yeah, if you use him, he might do it. Okay, this is important. You have to touch the water here. So now your hand is warm and wet. This is important, and thankfully it's not like a quest in a game where it's like, oh, you gotta get there in time before your hand cools down, because that is not it. You just have to touch the water, and then you have to go to find where the next thing is, the Alexander summon, because it's tied to it a little bit. Also, we have this area here, very reminiscent of, again, my backyard in the winter, but also reminds me a bit of Breath of Fire 4 has this. Now, I started Let's Playing Breath of Fire 4 a long time ago, and will I go back to it? Maybe. We'll see. So this place, you can place landmarks because the screen will turn, like, on its own, and if you can't tell from the ground where where north was from where you were going, it is kind of tough, and we actually want to go east out of here, so it is confusing, but you should be fine. So we're gonna go and leave this way, and we're trying to find, guess what, we're out. So that's what happens when the time limit happens. He just falls on his knees, and he's like, oh, dang. And I was worried here that I'm like, am I going to have to go touch the water again? Thankfully, that is not the case. You just have to see him once. But yeah, this guy's like, hey, you collapsed. I found you. I live up here. It's normal for me. His name is Holzoff. So that's actually the guy whose house we were in when we got punched. Did I know that until I read the Final Fantasy wiki? Absolutely not. I would not have known that. But if you ever collapse, you come back up here, and thankfully he's actually, I'm pretty sure, near the top of the mountain. So if you want to go down the mountain, you actually have to go back down it, right? Also, his friend's name is Yamski. That is not a name I would ever equate to a JRPG. But they kind of put weird names in them, I guess. And Yamski fits the bill. But yeah, he's telling us about the gameplay mechanic of climbing up, which is you basically have a temperature gauge, and you got to keep your temperature going. Very similar to, I think it was, I mean, this came before it, but Mega Man Zero has one level where you have a temperature gauge, and you got to make sure it doesn't rise too much. Boy, those games are hard. Boy, I will never never end up playing them myself fully through without using an easy mode or anything. So he's given us these tips. Gotta check our route, and you press square to raise your body temperature. Now, sadly in real life, pressing square does not raise your body temperature, because I will let you know that when it's cold out, it's cold, and it sinks into your bones. I don't think a lot of people know what the cold is like. Because I hear people say like, oh man, it's so hot out, this sucks, right? It is way easier to warm up than cool down. And people are like, well, if it's cold, just put on some clothes. But no, when that cold gets into you and it's a wet cold, it will never leave you. Where with warmth, it's like just turn on the air conditioning and you're instantly feeling better, right? And I'm living in one of the few places in the world. Also, hey, it's my whole party. I'm living in the few places in the world where literally I have both an air conditioner and a heater in my room because I need them both. What's up, Barrett? And we get a brief reminder that, yeah, Barrett is like... Barrett is super nature focused. It's something that you easily forget. Even Vincent is a little cold, and he is a cold, unfeeling Hot Topic shopper. Barrett's having a... It's interesting because you do lose some characters' kind of personal journeys along Cloud's journey, but along the way, you know, you do get brief reminders that, yeah, Barrett is like, he loves the environment. That's why he is a eco-terrorist. But you know, you get brief reminders. You do get a lot of them. They get their stories told, which is nice. But for the most part, you kind of forget about them as characters until their time comes to shine again. And hey, we're right back where we were, so it's all good. No problems here. So as we go this way, it's a good thing we touched the water. And we run into some more of these dudes. Again, there's nothing special about them other than the fact that their design is horrible and is a reminder that bugs are abominations. I hate them. Like, I'm intrigued. Okay, I like beetles. I like beetles. Beetles are cool. But anything that's not a beetle, nah, they can leave, right? Alright, so now we're coming down into this area, and we can... What we're looking for is we're looking for a cave, and in this cave we will find, actually what looks to be, you'll see in a second, a frozen woman. But hey, we ran into a special-ish encounter here, which is an encounter with, where's his name? Because I actually don't have it up. Oh no. Whoa, where is he? Is he Magnade? Is this dude? Yeah, Magnade. This dude looks cool. Anything that's kind of upright is pretty neat. They actually are pretty much no threat. It can use its shield stuff, but it's weak to gravity, and Demi 2 or laser will kill it instantly, so you can do that. Pretty much, yeah, this dude looks cool, but they're nothing to be worried about. It's one of those situations where you see an enemy and you're like, oh, this will either be really difficult or really easy, and he was the latter. Speaking of easier than what you'd think, we'll see a what is labeled as an optional boss, which you'll see here in a second. But yeah, since we touched the water, this frozen woman here is just like... Got a lot of nerve touching the hands that touch the hot spring water. So this here is Snow. She is a Yuki Onna from Japanese mythology, who looks like just a hot chick, which is ironic. But an interesting thing, number one, you cannot get a game over to her. You can only... and yeah, we're trying to steal and get her her safety bit. Or no, she does not have the safety bit. She has a good thing to steal though, which is something that we want to get. But no, you will not get a game over to her. She will just tell you, hey, don't do that, and then knock you away. You can get a preemptive, she says, ha, remember your place, and then you're transported to the house with 1 HP, which is really interesting. But if you do, not beat her, or do not get her item, which is the circlet, which is a really rare item and really good one, you can actually find her as a random encounter. And I've always been fascinated by the idea of, I mean, haha, fascination's on the screen there. This idea of a singular character who can still be encountered as a boss, right? Because as far as I'm aware, Snow is a singular character. She is the Yuki Onna of the mountain. There's even people in town who talk about there's a ghost on the mountain and stuff, and that's her, right? So we are casting Mega Flare on her because I don't think I read that I can steal the circlet from her, but that's fine. But the circlet is a good item. I think it boosts your, it says here, the circlet, you can actually steal it from the ultimate weapon, which we'll get to later. But it gives you magic and spirit plus 30, which is pretty good, all things considered. But yeah, if you want to get more circlets, you can steal them from her, through random encounters. But yeah, you can actually get this to be a preemptive battle. There's a few bosses that can do that, where you can get preemptive encounters, but because we beat her, we got the Alexander materia. And apparently there's a typo on here where they put spaces around the quotation marks, which is interesting. Alexander is a big old castle, which does the Alexander summon here. Let me bring it up. Summon creature, it is started in 6, with the cool design. 7, actually, I love the design of Alexander because it's just a giant robot castle. It costs 120 MP and deals holy damage. Although there aren't many enemies weak to holy, Alexander is the only source of holy magic for players to cast, due to the holy spell being a plot device, which we will get to much later. Alexander's spell power is 7.5 times the base magic damage. You can get more than one if you were to, like I said, stop on the, pick it up on the exact time that you got it the first time. So that's really interesting. Alexander is, of course, much bigger as a character in Final Fantasy IX, and boy, is it cool there. Alexander's one of my favorite summons because it has that size to it, right? Like, it is huge, and I love the huge summons. I think some of the summons that are smaller, I'm like, it's okay, but I like my summons to be like, you see it and you're like, wow, that is a earth-shatteringly huge summon, right? And I love that. I do hope they keep Alexander as a summon in the remake there, because I want to see Alexander summoned like the Final Fantasy 15 summons, where they just go onto the field. So cool. Alexander is actually in a lot of Final Fantasy games. It's really interesting. There's even in Bahamut Lagoon he appears. But anyways, we got pretty much all the major items we wanted, so all that's left now is to scale upwards into Gaia's Cliff, where we will hopefully not freeze and find Sephiroth. So I'll see you all next time for some more Final Fantasy VII, guys. Ciao!